What's a European Lemons car with a Hemi-head 4-cylinder engine mounted at an angle for optimum center of gravity and Yamaha tuned port induction?
That's pretty exotic stuff, so, I mean, it's not a Peugeot 505.
It's a Peugeot 505. Of course, we're talking about the longtime Lemons racers, the French Foreign Legion Action Team, or F-Flat, and their 85 Peugeot 505.
The French Foreign Legion Action Team was inspired by the long history of French cars racing in Africa, most notably the original Paris-Dakar Rally. That's where their livery comes from, this Peugeot 504 rally car from the 1970s.
There are still French cars racing in today's Dakar Rally. In fact, the 2023 event just ended, and there was a very similar 504 coupe racing in the Classic division. Let me see, it says here, finished 80th.
Out of how many?
80.
Oh, that's good.
No, that's bad.
F-Flat was inspired to build a 505 after seeing another Lemons team from way back, the cheese-eating Surrender Monkeys, campaigning a 505 Turbo. And by inspiration, we mean they saw that 505 and said, "Hey, we already have one of those in the llama pasture."
Yeah, and that's really a stroke of luck because a llama pasture really is the best place to look for Peugeot 505s. Their particular car was intact, it was light on rust, heavy on spiders and bees.
Bees! Bees! Bees in the car! Bees everywhere! God, they're huge! They're ripping my flesh off!
And it didn't run due to some issue with the fuel injection. So they did what a lot of Lemons teams do. They said, let's just put on a simple carburetor. And boy, does that ever not work?
They started with a 2-barrel Weber carb from the obvious source. This worked kinda okay, but the engine had, no pun intended, a flat spot. So the two team principals, Gary and Dennis, who are brothers and both motorcycle guys, started thinking about adapting a set of 4 motorcycle carbs, one for each cylinder.
Now, using the math, they figured that the Peugeot's got a 2-liter engine that's 500cc per each of the 4 cylinders. They looked at bikes that had 500cc cylinders, each fed by a single carb. That whole calculation resulted in deciding on carbs for a 1000cc Yamaha V-twin.
Now, it may surprise you there is no off-the-shelf adapter for a Peugeot 505 running quad Yamaha V-twin motorcycle carbs, so it was off to eBay Motors they went, looking for various bits to make the whole thing work. They got a rebuild kit, filters, rubber isolators, and even an entire spare carb, all from eBay Motors.
eBay was a big part of the rest of the build as well. While the Peugeot 505 is a obscure llama pasture find type of machine in the US, it's very common elsewhere in the world. eBay allowed the team to access places in Egypt, Australia, wherever else they could find 505 parts.
Maybe the best part, when they were running the Weber carb, they had to cut a big ugly hole in the hood for clearance. Switching to the Yamaha carbs allowed them to cover the hole in the hood with a performance hood scoop.
And by performance, we mean that the Peugeot is, by the team's own admission, slow, with maybe 100 horsepower. Despite that, it handles well. It's got cut stock springs, a set of universal adjustable sway bars for circle track racing, 4-wheel disc brakes all around, Hawk race pads. It's not unusual for the 505 to get totally smoked on the straights, only to immediately catch back up by braking late and holding its speed through the turns.
Surprisingly, the 505 has also been dead reliable with 6 races and 0 DNFs, including a Grand Prize Index of Affluency win at the Ridge.
And ultimately, speed and performance is not the point of building something like this. This team is spread out across 3 states. Each event turns into a mini family reunion. Gary and Dennis are also, respectively, an aerospace engineer and an ASE master technician. Much of the enjoyment is from the simple challenge of completing a motorcycle carb Peugeot race car. As Gary says, building this car was, quote, an opportunity to be creative and not worry about ruining a classic.
You better not say it.
Why you ruined classic?
What?
eBay.
Every second you don't subscribe or watch one of these videos, another Vega is sent to the crusher. Won't you help us save Classic?